Yes, welcome back to Dyl Friends. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Dove Men+Care. And we are excited today to introduce to you a good friend of ours, good friend of the show, good friend of mine, and a conglomerate, maybe a former alumni of Dyl Friends. Sam, why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just smiling. I'm loving it.
Conglomerate.
I didn't know what that meant.
Good word.
I just used it in there.
I liked it.
Darcy, welcome to you, my friend.
Thank you, Dylan. This exciting episode. Episode 250. Guest episode 250.
Do you reckon, like, after a 250, I should get chaired out of the studio?
We can chair you out.
I think 300. 300 will do that.
Kane Corns doesn't like it when 250 gets done. I think 300 is the main rule.
250 is big.
Maybe I can get chaired off, but the other team definitely shouldn't clap me.
Yeah.
Don't shake the other captain's hand.
I think I can shake the captain's hand, but I think 250, just a standing rule, is you get chaired off, but the other team, if you lose, just get off the ground.
Just go home, have a pizza.
I've never thought about that. You know when you get smashed, another team gets smashed, and they hang around? It's like, just get off. Just get off. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the show. Dove Men+Care have been unbelievable with this series. We've absolutely loved it. We've had Matt DeBoer on. We've had Jeremy Cameron. We had Sam Dockery last week. And this week we have a good friend of ours, Alex Johnson, who, as I mentioned, was on the show so early. We're going to be doing a little bit of an intro, so if you do want to skip that, maybe fast forward a few minutes, because we are giving away $5,000 thanks to our friends at Dove Men+Care.
Another 5K.
Another 5K. We gave 5K away last week. We are giving 5K away this week for those who are entering the Dove Men+Care hotline. You call the hotline, you recommend a friend that has been an awesome friend to you, that's helped you through a tough period, or someone that's been just really good in your group. And we've had a heap of entries, and today we're giving away another $5,000 thanks to our friends at Dove Men+Care and the Dove Men+Care hotline. Lots of people calling up to us. I haven't been listening. I haven't been privy to them because I'm leaving it with the boys' hands to sort of pick the winners.
It's going through Darcy, is it?
It's going through Darcy, really. So if you want to... He is the gatekeeper of the money, because I just want to give it to everyone. He has a mean streak about him.
He's been cutthroat.
I'm not the only one that decides the winner.
Oh, well,
but, you know, if you say a few nice words, it might go a long way.
Yeah.
Maybe if you give, one of the 5K to Darcy.
No, we can't do that.
No, definitely not.
Why don't we get into this week's 5K winner?
Please do, Darcy.
All right, this week we had a winner.
I'm excited for this person.
Connor Stewart.
Connor Stewart!
Let's have a listen.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, Dyl. My full credit to the boys is actually to my sister as a only sibling. She went above and beyond a few years ago when I got diagnosed with a cell cancer 2 weeks after I had my appendix out. And she went above and beyond and got all messages sent in from, my footy team, close people I know, some football players, some Lions players as a Lions fan, and she got me assigned a Queensland Maroons jersey. Something she didn't have to do, but at the time I was getting ready for a second surgery within 3 weeks on my bowel, and as a young bloke at about just turned 19 at the time, a year out of school, didn't really have an idea of this health issue, considering I've always been sort of healthy kid growing up. I came into it not really expecting, and she just really eased that sort of process, and made my time and my day when she gave me that Queensland signed jersey and this 5-minute video with people that I love. Thanks, mate.
That's beautiful.
I wasn't ready for that.
You know what? We were having fun.
Yep.
And that's beautiful, but that's why we are doing the show.
That's beautiful.
That's
Did
really
Connor
cool.
say what his sister's name was?
No, he didn't say the name of the sister.
He didn't.
Okay.
That's beautiful. So
Stunning,
lovely.
yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's
you're
all
very,
about.
very,
It's
you're very
rocked me
lucky.
a bit, but that's just awesome.
You're very lucky, Connor, to have that in your family and to
Sounds
have
like
a
they're lucky
sister
to have
like
each
that.
other. That's absolutely
That's
bloody
beautiful.
Fantastic.
Worthy winner.
Absolute worthy winner. And I know, Das, I can imagine there'd be a lot of
There
worthy.
is so many.
I know.
It's honestly so hard. I think Connor's stood out to me. Like, I think he said he was 19.
19.
And that can be a hard age.
It's a very,
for people.
very, just that age in general is tough, let alone facing some health scares.
And that'd be hard for his sister as well. That'd be hard for his sister to watch your brother going through that. So for her to stand up, and full credit to her.
Yeah. Yeah,
But,
far out. Worthy winner this week. They've all been incredibly worthy, and there's 5 weeks left of this, guys. So we want to hear your stories of who you'd give full credit to. Make sure you reach out to the Dove Men+Care hotline and give full credit to someone in your life. And you have a chance to win $5,000 for another 5 weeks of shows. Big shout out to Connor and his sister. Didn't grab her name, but absolute stars. And thank you to everyone still for entering. All the entries are still valid.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get this week and you've already entered, your entry is still valid on the hotline. So make sure you stay tuned. But yeah, big one to that was really crazy. Like we came in here really excited for the episode intro, but it just shows. Yes, I think that just epitomised everything we love about doing this stuff. We love having fun, love having a laugh with our mates, but we also love when people give full credit to their loved ones, and we are doing that with Dove Men+Care. So a big thank you again to Dove Men+Care as well for giving away this money, and we are just extremely lucky to be the ones that are facilitating that. So thank you very much. Sorry guys, lastly before we do, if you've heard Alex Johnson's episode way back at the beginning of Dyl Friends, it was incredible. It was just after he had done his, I think, 5th knee for the Swans. Since then has retired from football, did some really cool things and left the game, ran the New York Marathon, did some other really cool challenges, started his own business, has become a father. We actually, funnily enough, became dads on the same day. Our kids were born 11 minutes apart or something like that at the same hospital.
Same hospital too.
Crazy. Like we were literally like 3 doors down from each other.
That's weird.
That's cool.
And he's just been unbelievable. So I can't wait to sort of hear what else he's up to. He's also working with the Western Bulldogs.
He's at the doggies
at the moment too, which they're absolutely flying. And also from what he's saying, he wants to be a senior coach one day.
Do you think you can do it?
100%.
Okay.
Check it out. AJ, how are you, my friend?
Good, mate. Good to see you.
Great to see you. You are looking incredibly well. You're looking healthy.
you.
Great skin. Good colour. You work outside now, so you sort of get that, like the tradie tan.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a tan in the last couple of weeks with this Melbourne winter, but no, I appreciate that. Some people say I look tired, as you'd know, being a dad. Sleep comes second now, but no, I'm all going well.
Can you believe becoming a father that you are now? And we must talk about this off the top because it's actually a pretty incredible story. Our first, my first, and your to be first. No, both our first.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is we became a father. We became dads on the same day,
in the same day,
place,
same place, born like 15 minutes apart.
Yeah, something ridiculous.
How
like
crazy is that?
Oh, it's amazing. It's I remember I knew we were sort of due at similar times. We'd spoken about how our respective partners were going through pregnancy and things like that. But then when you text saying I think Ivy's 11 minutes older than Max or whatever, I was like, wow. So pretty incredible.
I remember the day. It all happened, and you're sitting there in hospital, and me and you were sort of texting each other, and like, we'll catch up for a coffee or something. And then you just realise, like, there is no time to catch up for a coffee with anyone whilst that's going on.
To be honest, when you did message me saying let's catch up for a coffee, I was out of the hospital. I hate hospitals.
Really? Yeah.
So I didn't just take off, leave Zoe and Ivy and say, I'll see you in a few days. It was more, I get cabin fever badly, and obviously the time I've spent in hospital has never been a pleasant one over my journey. So I was like, I just need to go. It was Good Friday though, so nothing's open. So I'm driving around Carlton and the city being like, where can I just go and just relax for a little while?
Mate, it was...
and then go back and sleep in that horrendous place.
I don't know what it was like for you, but and you're a lot bigger and stronger and handsomer man than I am, but sleeping on those little fold-out couches and stuff for like I think we stayed in there for 4 nights. And again, it's so lucky. I think when you go through something like that, you think... 2 things. You're like, one, how lucky we are to live in a country that has an incredible healthcare system.
Yeah.
That you can stay there, people get tended to. But then you think, how do we fucking sleep on those beds in the hospital? Like, they were like these little tiny couches that you could just nearly fall off if you couldn't even lay on it. And I don't know the specifics of how your baby came into this world, nor do you need to express that. But Juzz's was an emergency C-section, so it came out the sunroof.
So it was a C-section
there
too.
You go.
It was planned, so it was,
I think ours somewhat was. Like, we were trying to do it naturally. If it didn't work, then we would do the other option.
Yeah.
And what that means is that they're obviously bedridden for a couple of days, can't move.
Yeah.
And I just remember that experience because obviously she couldn't get out of the bed to tend for Max.
Yep.
And I just remember like thinking I've closed my eyes and he's back up like an hour later. And it just felt like I did not sleep for 4 days. Like it was the hardest 4 days. I was going to say the hardest 4 days of my life, But then I played for Tura on the weekend. That was actually probably harder than the 4 days.
And that probably seemed like 4 days in those conditions.
Literally. So,
those beds though, when I went to fold mine out, the metal snapped, and I was like, brilliant. This is great. I was already unhappy about that. So I was ringing my mum being like, can you bring me a blow-up mattress or something? Anyway, I ended up just making it work. But we were only in there for 2 days, I think. I think after one day I was very much ready to get out of there. But similar to Jazz, Zoe had a C-section, and, it's a serious, heavy procedure.
Very big surgery,
cutting through ridiculous amounts of layers of muscle and fat and all sorts of things. So, it was, 2 days, I think, and then out and you take a baby home and it's like, what do we do now?
Yeah, it's an incredible. I actually haven't really reflected on it, to be honest, so much because things move so quickly.
Yeah.
Scott Shermer was our obstetrician, absolute unbelievable guy, and I still remember this day, like sitting in there. Obviously, the curtains up, and you're sort of sitting there. It's a bit surreal because you picture it for so long, and then he goes, "Come on, mate, come have a look," and looked over, and you just see, an open stomach, the insides of an open stomach and a baby coming out. It's just like
it's bizarre,
the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. I made a video for Zoe of the with the Lion King
like
theme. It was brilliant. Because our obstetrician, Faris Al-Shama, same hospital, Royal Women's, unbelievable man.
Unbelievable.
Amazing story, really, what he's been able to do, rise to head of obstetrics in 3 different countries because it wasn't recognised.
Really? So what does that mean?
He started his medical profession in Egypt and rose up there to the ranks, to the top of the game there, then moved to the UK. His wife, I think, wanted to have a family in the UK, so they did. Rose up there in London and then moved to Australia, ended up in, I think it was Ballarat or Bendigo initially, and then now in Melbourne. It's pretty incredible.
3-time.
And 3-time ladder climber, I suppose, if you want to say, but serious. So having him, in our corners always great.
Mate, yeah. But you just fall in love with some of the people there, and obviously the midwives and the nurses. Oh, they're just fucking unbelievable. Could talk about it all day.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, let's reflect on the last sort of few years. Episode 8, I reckon it was, and if anyone's gone back and listened to that episode, I'm not sure what your memories are from it, but obviously a very, very long time ago.
It's almost 6 years ago.
Is it really?
Yeah, it'd be 2018. It was the week I did my knee, and you'd fallen into the media circus very quickly because you were ringing me and hounding me to come on your little podcast that had about 4 listeners at the time. So, it's good to see you've come. So I think you owe me a bit, actually. So just after you do your, I don't know what number it was, 400th knee, you have me calling straight away going, hey, mate, I hope you're well. Also, I've got a podcast. Do you mind coming on? I'm facing my football mortality, the end of my career, not knowing what I'm doing, and I've got you ringing me being like, hey, mate, can you come to my apartment in Paddington and do my podcast?
And the good man that you were, you did come.
No, I always had a lot of time for you. We always got along well from the moment we met. Probably 15, 16 years ago now.
It was. I still remember to this day. We roomed together at the Vibe Hotel in Carlton in under 18s.
And in my white Maxima, I got my parents to drop it off, and we used to go for joy rides in that.
Literally. No, incredible times, mate. And always loved and respected everything about you. So it's so good to get you back in and see where you're at. And now got a lot of other things in common too. But mate, your story to this day is something that's incredible in football, and you just have a never say die mentality. You've done so much, and so keen to see what the last sort of few years have been like for you, sort of leaving the game, I suppose. So take us back to that period then. That was your, what knee was that?
That was my 6th knee. That was my right knee against Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I had all the issues on my left from 2013, and then that was 2018.
Yeah.
Do my right knee, and that's your career done, really.
That was the sort of last one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've done one since. I tried to play again.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Which what did you do?
I did my right again. So I've had 5 on my left and 2 on my right.
That was probably
now.
my fault, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
With the
I thought I'm going to prove this guy wrong.
You had the rehab and you came to the podcast instead. Look, we joke about it now, and I guess maybe it's a way that you can reflect on it now. But how does that sit with you now? I know it's probably not what you want to be known for, and it's like you wear that T-shirt. You don't wear the T-shirt, but in saying it's like you get a T-shirt saying "knee's good, mate, fuck off." Like you're sick of talking about it, but I suppose it is part of the journey. Like,
absolutely.
How does it sit with you now? Have you sort of been able to put it behind you, or does it, because that was the last one, ending probably not the nail in the coffin, but in a sense maybe it was, doing it against Melbourne, finishing off your contract with the Swans. Like how does that go? Because I was actually having a chat with a guy about this on the weekend, and I think sometimes, you know, when you leave the game, not through a lack of form or effort, or mentally, but through another source, it sometimes can be a lot harder because, you know, it wasn't like you weren't playing good footy. Yeah,
I think it's definitely been a journey to get to a point where I can accept it, I suppose. I think initially in 2018, when I do it, you go on a bit of a rampage, I suppose, and, you know, I sort of just partied a lot and just thought, you know, I'll just make the most of this time or whatever. But you're sort of I had 3 significant things go wrong, you know, my end of my career, moving, I relocated to Melbourne, and then a relationship breakdown as well. And they were all sort of byproducts of, well, that was a byproduct of everything else that was going on, I suppose. But yeah, it took me a little while. I think, you know, for me, I'd never identified with mental health or depression or anything like that. And then you probably sit there and you look and you go, you know, I've got some things. And I sat down with a few different psychs and, you know, over the journey and figured out what was going on. And someone said, have you ever thought, you know, you might have post-traumatic stress disorder? And I was like, yeah, right. Or post-traumatic depression, effectively. And I'd never really thought about it. You sort of, you know, there was times there where you feel sorry for yourself. You think you're so unlucky. And I'd always looked at my career as a failure just because I'd never got, you know, it had never fulfilled what I wanted to get out of it. You know, first 2 years, dream start, you know, play almost every game, premiership, those types of things. You think you're going to go on and play 300 games and win 4 flags and captain a footy club and set yourself up forever. So yeah, that did take a little while to get to come to terms with, I suppose. Probably that 2018-19 year, I moved back down, stayed involved in footy, played a season with Northern Blues, like the old team, Carlton, and in their VFL team, and enjoyed that, working with the younger guys there. And then probably 2020, it was when, you know, obviously the whole world shut down, COVID hit, footy was taken away again. I sort of sat there and reflected and realised, you know, I need to go and get some professional help here. And that's when I started the journey to figure out what it looked like and, you know, what I'd actually dealt with and try and deal with it as best I could.
I appreciate your honesty, mate. That's it's look, when you put it like that and knowing your story, it's not probably a shock to think like that is something that is going to occur when something big happens in your life. And
yeah,
I suppose I wasn't going to say this today, but I feel, I think a big part of this podcast is actually like about friendships and reaching out to people and stuff. And I think I look back now and with our relationship, whilst it's not one that we chat every day, I actually wish I was more aware of that situation. Not that I knew anything was going on, but I just think that I should have been. I wish I had probably reached out, which is what I'm saying. I didn't know any of that had actually transpired at all, but I just wish I had been more prevalent.
Yeah. No, I suppose it's people don't know. And I'm a pretty private person. I don't speak about things that often, and that's probably something I struggle with through my footy career. It was always like, no, I'm fine. You know, almost back to I'll wear the T-shirt, my knee's fine, fuck off.
Yeah.
And I'll deal with it on my own. I did that a lot. But then you do that for so long, you bottle things up, and then it's going to explode at different times. And it probably did at different times throughout the sort of 5 or 6 years that I did miss playing footy. But, you know, I was able to move on to the next thing. When things are taken away from you, when it does explode, it's probably a lot worse. So I think just being able to deal with that, and then it's who you surround yourself with too. I've always had great support with my family, but probably had people in my lives that weren't the greatest influence on me. And now I look at, you know, how stable things are with me. You know, my partner Zoe's, you know, unbelievable. She's been through turmoil of her own, you know, over her journey, losing her dad to cancer when she was only 18 years old. And, you know, having these things that go wrong for her, she really understands, you know, what the whole landscape looks like. But having a supportive partner like that is huge, really.
I couldn't agree more. It's who you surround yourself with. I think, you know, we're such energy-based like people. I've found in my journey, like whenever I'm feeling shit, I find myself complaining. Then you go to the people that listen to it.
Yep.
Versus like you're never going to complain to someone that you know won't have that mindset with you. You're not going to just complain to someone who's not going to agree. And
it's like anything. You can find enablers in life to anything. And if they'll enable your negative thoughts, they're just going to get worse and worse. And then, you know, you become a group of complainers, I suppose. And that's why, you become like those who you surround yourself with, I suppose. And positive influences and positive relationships are huge.
How, I suppose, like probably two questions here. Like when I suppose you finished up and you're going through those, 3 injury, the delisting, and then the relationship breakdown you were mentioning.
Yep.
And it probably got you to, a hard place that was obviously built up over a long period of time.
Yep.
What helped you, I suppose, identify that you weren't surrounding yourself maybe with the right people? Did it take a long time for you to do that? Like, was there someone that, helped you identify that? Did you just wake up sort of one day and go, fuck, this actually isn't the right sort of thing for me, I need to work help? Or did you, how did it sort of work?
It's probably a combination of everything. I think, us, or me particularly, but us as males, if someone says something's not right, you're going to tell them to fuck off and think that you know the right way, I suppose. So it takes a realisation for what you need, and then, it's a combination of things that people will tell you and what you can tell yourself to be able to get to where you need to get to, in a stable, whether that's friendships or relationship or whatever it is. And then you can actually figure things out and understand what a clear path and what a stable path actually looks like. In saying that, nothing you ever do, whether it's, business or pleasure or whatever, there's always going to be speed bumps along the way, but it's how you actually respond to them and what it looks like rather than just going downward spiral. I suppose for me, that was the biggest struggle, is because I looked at my footy career as a failure, and that's, the biggest thing in your life, really. You spend 8 or 9 years doing this thing and that failed. Anything else go wrong, I just automatically fall back to, this is failing, and it like encapsulates the whole failure aspect of things. So dealing with that was a big thing for me, and finally realising that you can actually have people, help you with it rather than you having to deal with it on your own. There are professionals out there for a reason, and they know they can give you the tools and the answers that you're looking for, I suppose.
That's a great point. I must sort of save it myself, thinking about what I'm listening to you talk about it now, and I think I'm really good at. I think I'm good at maybe picking things up in other people now. I've gotten better at that.
Yep.
And I said before, and I wish I had have been more prevalent for you. Just picking up the signs, going, "Oh, hey, this has happened." Like maybe check in. Not even just, you're just fucking young. You're in your own head. You just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, we've all got so much going on in our lives, and but the other thing is, you never want to sit there and do that, because I've got mates that have lost close friends to suicide, and then they're like, I should have done more.
Exactly.
How do you know? And then you can blame your own self, and then it just becomes a huge flow-on effect hard. And a big spiral, I suppose.
The one thing though I don't know is, because I know you're like that too. Like, you're a helper. You've got incredible, like empathy for people. I suppose, especially with your situation the way you are. You're a very charismatic guy. You're always there to help.
Yep.
But I don't know if this is a common trend I'm asking, because I feel like I'm somewhat like that.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Yep.
But I think when it comes to like myself, I talk about this shit every day on podcasts and do it. Yeah. But until like I'm going through it, I still struggle to like let people in.
Yeah.
Because I don't know sometimes if I actually... It's lovely. I'm really lucky that I've got incredible support networks around.
Yep.
But sometimes I just like to... I don't know if I like or how I do it. I don't even know how to sort of... I do like to deal with things by myself first, but then also have a healthy mix of like being able to go to people when I need it. And I see professionals all the time. Like, I've got people that I've seen outside of sport, and I'm not sure if you've accessed how lucky we are as ex-players to access the AFLPA and what we get. But the general public, for people who don't know, we do get access to a lot of facilities that can help us in many, many ways, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
So we are very lucky in that. And I know out there, like, I wish that access was available for everyone, because it's pretty incredible what we get. And I think that if you can align yourself with the right people, it's almost like just knowing who your people are to go to. We talk about it a lot here, is like a tool belt. Emma Murray's analogy, for lack of a better word, but it's like, all right, here's your tool belt. It's like, all right, there might be some stuff like going for a run, getting outside, eating a healthy meal. Then there's like, all right, more serious, maybe go and see a psychologist, see a psychiatrist, see a physio, see someone else. So just knowing what you can pick up, where it is, and just having all those skills a part of it, and just being able to identify when you need what.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's huge. But as you said, I've sort of done a lot of reading on, as you sort of mentioned before, I'm a helper. I'll always, and people will come to me a lot with their problems.
Yeah.
So then it's sort of, there's a lot of reading, I suppose, around the fact that if you give them everything and all the advice, you'll have none for yourself. So you sort of pass it on, you empty yourself out of everything. But same, if something's going on or whatever,
true?
there's a few sort of different takes on that, but that's in essence that's sort of what it is, and it makes a lot of sense. So that's not saying if people come to you just
Don't
palm
tell
it
them
off.
lies.
See you later. Yeah,
I'm keeping them for myself. boys. Sorry.
No, that's exactly right. So
Yeah.
it's just finding the balance of what it actually looks like, and then being able to give it to yourself, I suppose, or finding the right people that will help you. But we are incredibly lucky with ex-AFL players being able to do that, and that's having a psychologist that's fully funded because of because of playing footy and because of the exit in the game can be quite hard. But a lot of players don't. I didn't know about that until actually speaking to the right people and figuring out what you can actually have access to.
You've done some pretty cool things since you finished as well, and I'm curious to know how you stay at your best, or how you stay at your best now, because I think when being in sport, consistency is all a part of, like, fitness is your job, and you get paid to do it, so you don't have to really worry about it. And I know for me, if I'm not running or not being active, that's a first sign of, like, I'm starting to feel shit or overthink and all these sort of bits and pieces.
Yeah.
How have you found that transition, I suppose, in the last few years, and now being back at the Bulldogs? I'm not sure that might change things because you're probably in a pretty active workspace.
Yeah.
How have you found the correlation between, like, your physical health and how you're feeling in yourself as well?
Yeah, physical is huge. I mean, and that's something that I suppose I struggled with through injury and things like that. Like, there was a period there I couldn't run for 3 years, and running is just my go-to. I love it. Being able to just take half an hour for yourself, go out, exert some energy, but just clear your mind of everything. The endorphins you can get going from doing that are huge. So that was definitely a challenge. But for me, it's big, the physical side of things. Being back involved in footy, I'm loving it. It's great. I think I had enough time out to reconcile with what had gone on with me. But the big thing for me is the coaching space. I'm really, really interested in it. I want to see how far I can go with it, and probably get out of the game what I wanted to get out of as a player. I didn't get that, so go back and do it coaching. And if I can impart a bit of wisdom and a bit of experience and perspective onto these younger guys, then I'm doing my job. So
that's very exciting. I want to touch on that in depth.
Yep.
But before we do, I was actually very interested in when you finished up. I don't know what the timeline was, but you're talking before about a few trips that you did because you took a bit of time out of footy.
Yep.
Was that? It sounds like it was by choice, just to sort of like let it breathe a bit.
Yeah.
Did you just want to just sort of get out of it?
A little bit. I wanted to play straight away, so that's I played the second half of the year in the VFL.
Yep.
With Carlton and doing some coaching stuff there, I suppose.
How did you keep backing that up?
Playing?
Mentally, how did you keep doing that?
Yeah.
Like,
I suppose it's a great question.
Like the resilience and the,
it's just stupid.
Yeah, it was, for lack of a better word, it probably is. But like, there's also like an incredible grit to it as well.
Yeah.
What was the mentality around that? Like, there probably was people just saying, mate, come on, give it a rest. But you just kept going. Like,
yeah, I think for me, clinically I've had 5 recos on my left. Probably only done it 3 times clinically. I had issues with infection and things like that, operation-wise. So I thought my knee was actually sound enough to be able to play. I don't actually have an ACL in my left anymore, and it disappeared at the end of 2016 effectively. So I played 2017, 2018 without an ACL in my left. There's just obviously enough scar tissue in there from 12 or 13 operations to be able to stabilise it and hold it together. And then my right, I sort of thought, if my left's obviously holding up, I've only done one on my right, I want to give it a crack and see if I can play. But yeah, it goes back to that whole, I felt cheated, or I felt like the game had been stolen from me, really, and I felt like it was unfair, and I wanted to keep playing. I love, the whole competitive. I'm the most competitive person in the world, and footy, gives you that, and the feeling of winning and things like that. And yeah, someone asked a question the other day, and it's interesting. You need to have a mix of players that love winning or hate to lose, and what are you more? And I was like, I'm all of the above. Like, do you love winning?
Again, yeah.
Do you love winning more than you hate to lose, or do you hate to lose more than, and you just feel, so when you win, do you just feel relieved?
I like that. No, I'm definitely a relief guy.
Relief when you win? Yeah. See, I found it, I was sort of like, I'm both in spades. Like, I hate losing more than anything, but I
you love
just
celebrating
love winning.
the wins. Yeah. No, that's a really good question.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And it's more, we were talking about just with the other coaches, just about the whole recruitment process. And if you asked 17, 18-year-old kids, what would their answer be? And you sort of need a balance of both.
So what's the more ideal? Is there one?
No, it's just it's a good balance. Because if you had like the 22 players play every week. If you had everyone on that team just loved winning, there's a potential that the desperation side of things would go out of it because there's not enough that hate to lose. So it's a really interesting balance. I've never thought about it until we had this conversation. Someone asked me the question. I thought, that's really interesting.
Question.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it, but it's so true, and you can almost reflect on the players you've played with, and you know straight away where they sit.
Yeah.
With just what the way they play. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I think, I can categorically say, even like the game I played on the weekend, it wasn't like because I wanted to like go in there and have fun. It was like I just don't want to fucking like. It was more of a scared thing of like just get it done. It's more of a relief once it's there.
Yeah, especially when you're driving there and you can't see out the windscreen.
That's another part of it. It doesn't normally happen, but it was there.
Yeah.
How have you found the mix from playing to coaching? Like, what's been the biggest differences? I suppose when you're a player, there's a lot of freedom and you can sort of, run your own schedule to an extent of a program.
Yep.
What have you found the biggest differences being? And is there anything that like you've looked at now as a coach that you used to do as a player and you go, oh, fuck, that's why they hated this? Because I think about this shit all the time.
Yeah. To be honest, it's been like it's not too dissimilar. It's more just the after hour stuff. And when I'm at the club, I'm not going to sit there and do computer work. You can do it at home, whether that's watching Vision or whatever it is. But it's funny because you've got like some guys come in and be like, "What are you doing? You're not doing anything." It's like I should film my night or my Sunday afternoon when I sit there for 6 hours.
They're saying that when what the fuck are they doing?
And
They're sitting in the spas.
But it's the whole, like when you're there, it's all relationship based, which I love. And that's what I loved as a player.
Yeah.
The fact that you can build relationships with different people. And I think as a coach, that's sort of, what I'd go down is build a relationship and then, and then I can say whatever I want to you. If I need to say that this is the worst thing you've ever done, I can say that because I've already got that relationship. So, I think there's elements of it. I mean, sometimes we'll have meetings that go for ages and you're like, what did we achieve out of that? And we all sort of sit there and do it. But no, it's really good. And obviously it's determined by the head coach, and Luke Beveridge, he's great. He's got a really good understanding for work-life balance, and, his kids are older now, but he understands us with younger kids that, want to be able to get home and be with them and things like that. But I think it's good. We sort of generally a day is get in early and leave early, and we'll have one most likely 2 days off during the week. Obviously the weekend's taken up by the actual game itself, and then a lot of vision. But during the week there's a day off always, which is great. So I get to spend time with Ivy, which is awesome.
Definitely. With the Dogs, how did that job come about? Because I think this is really interesting. Part in the world, like how football, because a lot of that's actually built on relationships as well. It's not like it's sort of like they put a job out application. It's sort of word of mouth type things. And obviously with your resume and the relationships that you build whilst playing, it's one of the smallest worlds in the world, football. And you'll play with someone, they're coaching somewhere, they move to somewhere. Like everyone knows everyone. So if you do have enemies,
it's
like they're there. It's crazy.
Yeah. It came about, I suppose I got offered, a few development coaching roles when I moved back.
Yeah, so as soon as you finished.
2019. And that's obviously, you're still, you're going on big podcasts like Dyl Friends, so your name's pretty hot and pretty relevant.
Yeah, so I could take the credit for that. So really what I was trying to do, I was trying to actually help you. I was trying to help you and you're fucking
if you
wallowing in your pit hole. Just like, come on, mate, let's
if you want to spin it like that, let's do that.
Come on.
But I still wanted to play. I didn't want to go straight into full-time coaching. I thought, do something else, get away from things and try different things. And then sort of over the last 6 to 12 months coaching, I did a lot of coaching for 3 or 4 years at Xavier College, where I went to school in the first 18 there. So coached with Sam Shaw, who we grew up playing together. He played at Adelaide for a little while, retired through concussion. So, we had a great 4 years there. Won a flag that they hadn't won in 20 years or something at Xavier.
What kids were coming through at that stage in the first 18?
Was
it the first 18?
First 18, yeah. I'm trying to think who's...
Would that have been like Bailey Smith?
No, it was year after. So year after Bailey got drafted, I'm pretty sure, who's, obviously at the Dogs now.
The other Bulldogs player there.
Leith Vandermeer. No, he's a year older than Bailey. It's like Josh Sin at Port Adelaide. Dante Vincentini he's at Port Adelaide as well. Max Heath at St Kilda. I'm trying to think who else there is. It's good. I usually have it resume.
You
So
know
I'm
me
like,
out
I
there.
taught
Yeah,
that
you
kid
taught those
everything.
guys, yeah. Yeah.
But there's one coming through this year, Finn O'Sullivan, who everyone's talking about. But yeah, I coached him a couple of years ago as a year 10, and he's unbelievable.
It's pretty cool. I see when like Lloyd, you know, through what he does and through coming to the pod, he talks a lot about like coaching at Haileybury, and it's a pretty sick thing to see like these kids come through, like the King boys and all those guys that sort of come through those schools that they've been coached by.
Yeah. Yeah, it is cool.
Good players,
it gives you, it takes you back to footy in its rawest form. Just you've got 15, 16, 17-year-olds that just want to play footy, just want to have fun.
Right. But those kids these days are just way ahead of it though.
Yeah, but back to the Dogs job, I suppose, last 6 to 12 or 12 to 18 months now, I identified that I wanted to get back into coaching and wanted to get full-time. And then, it's just, as you said, you just lean on the relationships. And
so who'd you meet with? I heard you hit up. Or who hit you up? Who slid in?
Slid into the DMs.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how it happens.
Okay. That's why I'm not
probably
getting the
does,
job offers. Yeah.
Sometimes they say AFL is the most unprofessional professional sport in the world. So, it might happen like that.
Test of that.
But I was coaching at Old Zavs last year with a guy by the name of James Byrne who knew Bevo quite well. And I sort of said, I want to coach. And he said he'll put some feelers out. And then Matt Spanger's there as well. So I just reached out to him. I knew they were going to have reshuffle their coaching stocks a little bit. But I spoke to some people at Collingwood and Richmond and then, the Dogs on sort of worked out really well.
It's awesome, man.
I got the job, and my first meeting with Luke was at Derby Day in the members bar. So we'd never met, and I'd already got the job. It was quite funny, actually.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, so they, as I said, they wanted to reshuffle their coaching stocks a little bit.
Yeah.
So 4 of us have gone in new. Matt Egan heading up the sort of the football GM, I suppose his role is now. Daniel Pratt's come from West Coast, and then me and Jane Geary have gone into the development space.
So Daniel Pratt, North Melbourne.
Yep.
And Egan, Geelong.
Yep.
Egan had the foot.
Egan had the foot.
And he's the GM of the Doggies now.
Yeah,
really?
Effectively he is. So they've restructured a little bit. Chris Grant, sort of the director of footy, and then
and you got Amit Baines, CEO.
Amit Baines, CEO.
He's an absolute star. I run into him just everywhere. He's a really good dude.
He's
really good
everywhere.
Sounds
he's
like
everywhere, man.
Is he everywhere? Is that his? It gets
so.
picked up on that. Okay, fantastic. I'll let him know.
No, it's good to come in with 4 new guys. I knew Jaron a little bit, and I'd worked with Ego. He was head of footy at Xavier for 2 of the years I was there coaching. So I'd worked with him previously, and it's a great bunch of coaches.
On all seriousness, we do talk about like working with coaches now, and obviously Luke Beveridge, great coach, premiership coach. Would he have coached, or he actually coached one of the grand finals against the Swans, obviously back in 2016.
Yep.
What's he like as an operator behind the scenes? Because it's been a pretty interesting year for you guys. Like,
it's been a very interesting year.
Very interesting.
It's a good, it's a really interesting look at footy, I suppose. My time at Sydney was always stable under Horse, obviously. There was never any conjecture. The year I was at Carlton, Brendan Bolton got sacked.
Yes.
I was more involved in Northern Blues, so I didn't have a up-close look at it. But being involved in it again now, you just realise how big AFL is in Melbourne.
Yeah.
You're so naive to that up in Sydney, and even growing up, obviously it's gotten 100 times bigger since when I was growing up. So just, the conjecture around it, and, a lot of the stories that come out are like saying that we're having these meetings and doing this and whatever. And there was one day we were sitting around just as coaches after training on a Tuesday or whatever, just having a beer together, and it came out that, we had these crisis meetings and whatever. It was like, if they could actually see in, it would be very funny. Because we're all turning on each other and all that stuff, and it's just so far from the truth. So, but
Mate,
Bevo's great. I love him. He's great operator. He's obviously had huge success in his own right to be a premiership coach, and then 21 they really should have won that. They were probably the best team in the competition. It was Melbourne just played unbelievably in the second half and were able to put it to bed, but. It'll be interesting. I think we're good enough. If we make finals, we're good enough to go all the way. Really,
I'm sure you listen to Footy and Friends podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, religiously.
Yep.
You would have taken to Bevo when Mick Barlow actually tipped you boys to the flag this year.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
right.
he loves the Dogs. He reckons that you guys.
Sorry, I should say I knew that.
You
and
knew
I took
that.
it to Bevo. That's with Lids and
with Lids and Mick.
Yeah.
Mick
I'll see
Barlow.
Lids around a little bit. He's a good man.
He's all right.
Yeah.
He's okay.
And he's into his mountain biking.
He definitely is into his mountain biking.
No, I'll see enough of it around.
But yeah, you guys this year, like the way it's all panned out, this year I've never seen anything like it. Like just the openness of the comp, and even of late of seeing sort of what you guys have been able to do. Like you've lost a couple of weird ones, but then won some really big ones, even like Rory Lobb. going back, I was actually speaking to him this morning, a mate of mine that I've spoke to for a while, but just to see what he's been able to do, go back and play that role. Like, a week's a long time in footy.
Oh, it's incredible, really.
To actually add a question there in terms of just talking shit, I was going to say, in Melbourne or in Victoria, how do you see the senior coaches or even maybe the heads of like people at the Western Bulldogs, how do they say anything about like the four walls, like keeping strong, don't make panic decisions, don't fall into these things? Because I actually found this year, like with all the shit that's sort of been maybe documented about that, like you've really stayed fat, even when things have sort of gone, because you can really turn on each other, can't you, as a club, if you let it get in?
Yeah, I think you definitely could. I think there's probably been examples of that of other clubs over the time, but I think Luke doesn't look into too many things. Like a lot of the time, if stories break or something, he'll hear about them through someone else, and it's not that. If you don't want to, if you sort of religiously said, I'll say this to some young players that, if they read social media comments or whatever, and it's if you lock that out, someone will send it to you. So you can't have a hard and fast rule. You've got to be open to it a little bit, but the way Bevo handles it is very good, I think. And he's been a little bit more, he's been out there on the media a little bit more, going on different shows and things, and that's probably good because he's a ripping bloke, very personable guy. And I think a lot of, he's probably misunderstood a lot in the media circles, but it would be easy to turn. I mean, you sort of look at what's going on in West Coast over the last few weeks. Obviously, whether that decision was made or whatever, it's or who made it and how they made it. But West Coast over there is the biggest brand in WA, whereas footy clubs here are not. Business is bigger than AFL in Melbourne. So I think you sort of can hide a little bit, and obviously you share this limelight with 7 other teams or whatever it is. So I think that helps a lot. But yeah, we're a really close group of coaches quite quickly, given that half are new this year. We sort of became quite close really early. And then it's just about sticking to the process, as they say in footy terms. So hard to go there with a nice cliche. But I think, seeing what the players can do when they're on, it's really impressive. And just on Rory Lobb, see how happy he is and reinvigorated he is as a defender is great.
Yeah.
And knowing what he's done, over the last 10, 11 years as a forward, he's got all that information to be able to play on some of the best forwards. And, you sort of look at what he was able to do to Cameron on the weekend. It was pretty impressive.
Unbelievable. Just on the point you're making before about footy clubs as well, you're saying about that Victorian sort of sense of it's not as big as Sydney, obviously. But you look at like West Coast and even Adelaide to an extent, with Port Adelaide with Ken Hinkley, like they were saying that House has had sack Ken all the way to the footy club.
Oh, yeah.
You see what happened in Perth with West Coast and Adam Simpson, and then you look back to the Swans. Do you see the decision with Dean Cox, last week around him
Not
looking to
going.
staying? Like
Yeah.
you can't. You look at that and you go, of course you would. Like
Yeah.
going back to his favourite, being one of the favourite sons of West Coast, the scrutiny that would be on him, how long that's got to go. Like there is such a beautifulness of living in Sydney and playing footy up there.
Yeah, definitely. I think it goes with the territory though, and I being in the coaching space now and however far it goes and however long it lasts. I think that's why you do it, is the pressure of the job. It goes with the territory. You're going to be scrutinised. Do you like
the pressure?
Yeah, I like the pressure. I think it's good.
It's like I say, I want you to listen to this podcast just because I think you'll really like it. Jonah Oliver we had on recently. Everyone's going to laugh that's listening to this because it's one of my favourite episodes I've ever had, but it's a favourite because it's good. And he talks about the price of admission.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just everything I do now is just like, it's a price of admission, man. Like if you don't get nervous, you don't feel something for it. It's like, well, that's you can sit in your room your whole life and not feel shit. But if you want to do something, you're gonna have to face some stress.
Yeah,
there's gonna be some hard things that go with it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's everything really in life.
Absolutely.
Where do you want to take it with, like, what's your admirations in the short term, I suppose, with coaching? Like, obviously in the development space at the moment, you're loving that. Do you want to sort of head to like a line coach? Is it, senior coaching?
Yeah, potentially. I think that the coaching space interests me more than, I suppose, the management side at the moment.
Like GM side.
Like GM side, I think, the winning and losing nature of it is what gets me out of bed. I think, the competitive side of it and, that whole, still now, even, before a game, you sort of, you're not going out there or whatever, but a lot of the time I'm like, I'd love to run out here. You just get the nervous energy in the rooms, and like being inside the rooms, there's sort of two feelings in footy, I reckon. Being inside the rooms, 30 seconds before they run out, and then like the 10 minutes after a win. He's like, they're too. You can't explain that to anyone that's never been involved in sport. They just, it's too hard to. But if you could encapsulate that and sell it, it'd be worth a lot.
Oh, mate, a lot of reflection's been done the last few weeks because of this game, and a lot of mental space unwillingly been taken up. But I have to say the same thing. Like, I felt really anxious throughout my whole career around sport, but the only thing that was keeping me there was literally like the 30 seconds after a game. That was the best feeling, where you just like, it's almost, as I said before, you maybe realise that relief, and then just going like, that is the best time ever. Yeah, such a good feeling.
How did you go last week in terms of the nerves and things like that going into your game?
Shocking. It's almost like the lower level I play, the worse it is. I don't know why.
Is that because your own expectation goes up?
Well, I didn't think I was going to get drafted from it. That's for sure. I was not sure why I cared, but it was hard. Who has really impressed you as a player, even young players now, that you're like, wow, that's cool? Like, obviously you're seeing some guys like Bontempelli go up front. You got like
seeing him
Jamara,
up close is great to see. Jamara's he's going to be an unbelievable player for the next 10, 15 years. One that's really impressed me is Ed Richards. I think obviously he's moved into the midfield has been well documented, and his impact has been huge. But just athletically,
just running power or like
amazing. Everything, and his skill level's really high. And then Ads Trelaw's another one. To do what he's doing at 31, it's pretty impressive. His power and skill level is a lot higher than what I'd sort of seen from the outside. So seeing it inside, it's pretty amazing.
It's cool to see him do his thing because he's a year younger than you, my age, and he and Dylan Shield were probably the two best players in our year.
They would have been the two most talked about. Going to the Giants, all that.
They like those two were just unbelievable. Injury things have happened and go, but you always know that that's in them, to just take over the game. And I still believe that Dylan Shield can have a massive impact for Essendon, sort of hopefully heading into the later half of the year. Who knows what's going to happen there? But
he's still a quality player.
Incredible player.
Just hasn't been overly lucky.
Has not been lucky at all, unfortunately. But it happens. Who else has been someone that's cool? Even maybe some young players you're working with at the moment.
There's some younger guys that are, obviously like Joel Frazier and Riley Sanders have come in and, been able to have an impact at AFL level, which is always good to see. Who else is there? Harvey Gallagher's been really good. He's played, majority of the year. It's the most footy he's played since he was 15 or 16, I think, with just injury and bodies and things like that. So it's good to see him get a run at it for a sustained period of time. Trying to think who else. I mean, there's young defender Jed Buslinger, who there's been a little bit of media around. I work really closely with him, and he's continuing to develop really nicely. And he's just re-signed for a couple of years, which is always good to see. So he's another one that he's been good. He's been good to work with.
I think it'd be really cool, like listening today, say there's some, aspirational sports people out there that want to make it to the highest level of their game, or even in business, because it's transferable, same stuff. What's been maybe some of the most impressive things that you see of young people coming into a professional environment that just stands out to like coaches, selection, list managers, everything? Like when players come in and you go, wow, like these qualities and these skills can hold you in good stead for anything.
Yeah, I think the belief aspect is pretty big, and it's pretty high these days, and it can be, as long as it's channeled in the right way, because it can be mistaken for complete arrogance.
So when they just come in and go, I'm ready.
Well, almost. And you sort of, I saw that really, like in 2017, 2018 at the Swans, seeing some of these younger guys come in and be like, I'm going to play AFL straight away. It's pretty impressive. And to verbalise that, I mean, when I went in, in 2010, I thought that, but I'd never say it to anyone.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
But they verbalise it quite quickly.
Who are those guys that you're referring to, 17, 18? Like, who would that be?
Oh, like Ollie Florent, Will Hayward. I mean, and you look at their careers now, you're like, fair enough. You backed it up. But I mean, there was always talk about, around that time, probably like a Christian Petrarca. Everyone was sort of, he was like, I'm going to be the best in the AFL, and it's like, well, he's done pretty well.
Yeah. I still
but
remember,
to say that at 18, there's no way in hell I would say that.
No. I still remember when Nick Dacos got picked up and they said, the knock on him, he might be a bit arrogant, a bit cheeky. I don't think anyone remembers that.
Yeah.
Because you know what? He probably did it. He probably backed himself up a fair bit.
But the reality is you need an
it's a different game.
Absolutely it is. You need sort of the belief side of things a bit of swagger about you and understanding that you can be good, or else you wouldn't be there in the first place. So I think it's that belief, and then it's just being self-driven, not having to lean on everyone around you to tell you what to do all the time. It's just, guys going in like, Riley Sanders is someone that's a real professional. What he does is, to get better all the time, and it's pretty clear that where he wants to go with it. So, yeah.
Really good advice. Being confident but self-driven as well. It reminds me this morning, I was just in Richmond, I was going to get a coffee with Will this morning, was having a catch up and walked past Ginnivan and Nick Watson, and they were catching up for coffee and breakfast just after their sort of big win against the Pies. And I was like, I fucking love you guys. Like, these kids, man. Like,
it's unbelievable the carry on, but they're backing it up.
I was like, this is fantastic. Like, it's genuine theatre. And if that had happened, as you said, in 2010 or 2011 when we were coming through, fuck me, you would have been absolutely smashed. You'd never play again. They'd say, get out of it. But I just love where it's got to. And I think that, a lot of those guys hopefully from, I think that you played a big role in that from, your input into just being able to come in and play good footy straight away. Like, that wasn't really a thing that happened. You normally had to have your 2-3 years in the VFL.
Yep.
And a lot of guys had to do that. But it is possible now. You see, like, what Dacos has done, what fucking everyone has done these days, it feels like. You can come in and play good football straight away as long as you come in with that attitude and do the work.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that's changed in the landscape is that you don't have to come in and be someone just to fit in.
Yeah.
The whole individual, just be an individual. As long as you're doing all the right things but do it in your own way, and then as long as collectively we can all, come together on a weekend and achieve what we want to do, you can live your own life a little bit, which I think it's really important.
Last one on the coaching stuff is, what are you looking to improve on over the next sort of 2 years? Because obviously you said before, like, relationships are a great part of your job and your personality. But what are things that you're looking to sort of probably implement to continually grow and one day get to a place you want to be? What do you think are the improvement areas?
I think it's just probably just developing a game plan. I understand the game quite well, I think, but just being able to develop that a little bit more, picking different parts of the game, and then the whole presentation aspect of it, I think is the big thing. Understanding, sports code, all those things. I've dabbled in it before, but just spending the time to actually do it.
Yeah.
And then it might not take me 6 hours to watch a game.
When you're the senior coach too, I feel like the big dogs sort of have the minions sort of editing for them, or do you think they still do a lot of it?
Nah, seeing Bevo do it, he does a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah.
He wants to be across everything, which, as you do, because it's, it's your position on the line if things don't go well.
That is true. What about the art of, like, storytelling? Like, I've heard Bevos and a lot of good coaches have been quite good at, like, setting up the...
Like theming games.
Yeah, theming games, theming seasons. Like, is that something you enjoy doing? Do you like that part of the game? Or is it more for you not about that?
Yeah, I'm sort of... I don't think there's... Bevo's amazing at it.
Yeah.
Really good theming things and storytelling. I think back to Horse, he was more just, pretty straight down the line. This is what we need to do and get it. And it was more around the whole, if we do this, the winning aspect, like focusing on sustained success and winning. So I think I'm sort of more inclined in that. I don't think there's anything I've come across that I believe strongly enough in to be able to sell a narrative on. Yeah. So I'd feel like a fraud.
And then you've got it, like, the thing with storytelling, Bolt is actually a very good storyteller. Didn't necessarily work for that team, but I'm sure it does for other teams that he's worked with. You've got to keep coming up with them too.
Well, that's right.
Well, it's like every week you just got to scratch your brain on, like, where the fuck are we finding the inspiration this week? So it's quite hard to do.
Yeah,
consistently.
Because then if you don't and you do a half-assed job and the team loses,
it's the story. It's the storytelling.
It's the lack of the story, and you've ruined everything.
No, that's a good point. All right, out with the storytelling.
No, I do appreciate it though, because the time and effort that goes into it's pretty impressive.
I like it. I'm a romantic. I like that side of it, but I don't think it's needed every week. I sort of like it, for the big games. You hear a lot about Damien Hardwick and what he did around finals, and how he'd sort of we've done a heap of episodes with the boys that have played in grand finals. Like Rance and Dave Asprey, Brandon Ellis, Kane Lambert, a lot of those guys who have just told incredible stories, and it does feel like on that, when you use it over like a 6-week period, that's building block, it's quite cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you sort of look at what Collingwood did last year. and that was clearly themed. They
What was
had
that?
the
Take
ladder.
the stairs?
Yeah, or the ladder, and they were spraying it every week they won or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was something like that, but
Yeah.
obviously we listened to the story well
Yeah.
because we both have no
Must
idea.
have been
But
well. Hasn't worked this year, unfortunately.
yeah, that's right. But they've been extremely unlucky with injury. But you look at that from the outside and look in, you're like, they did a really good job of it.
I think so. I think there's some merit to it.
Yeah.
Talk us through some challenges that you undertook whilst in that sort of period as well. You did the New York Marathon.
Yep, I did. I did Kilimanjaro. At the end of 2019.
How was that?
Campbell Brown, which was quite interesting.
Why and how? How did that come about?
We've just got to know each other over the years. My old man and his old man know each other just from being involved in lunch clubs around Melbourne.
Yeah.
Those types of things. And then me and Campbell, just got to know each other, and we're actually at one of the lunches, and he's like, let's, do it. And after a few beers, I agreed to do it. And then I realised I've got to do it.
What is it? Like, what's the...
Mount Kilimanjaro, it's the second highest mountain in the world, maybe. It's one, I think, it's one of the high ones.
Yeah. And what was the what was the challenge like? How was the training for it? Like, what did you have to sort of do to prepare? Like, what was the experience like? How long did it take?
Took 6 days to do it. The training, I didn't really do much training. It's the altitude. So I thought, I did a bit. We had an altitude chamber at Sydney. I was like, I did a few bike sessions in there. I should be right.
That should be fine now, yeah.
But Campbell organised the time we did it, and he's like, this time's not busy at all, and no wonder it's not busy because it pissed down the whole entire trek. Mm-hmm. So it took 6 days. We shared a 2-man tent. We did it with another woman, Jan Cameron, who does stuff with Channel 7 and the producing of the footy there. So Campbell knew her. That was the first time I met her was at the airport going over. And then, it was an incredible experience. But, having your entire backpack soaked through 20 minutes into the first day was horrendous. So no dry clothes for the whole time. Campbell thought it was funny to throw a rock at the tent on the second night, which went straight through. So
Got a hole.
through the waterproof cover and through the tent. So we had a hole dripping for the next 5 nights.
I know,
which is perfect.
You joke about it now, but how that shit is hard, man. Like, it's like, when you sort of think, I've done this before, but it doesn't matter if you've done it before. It's still fucking hard.
Yeah, it was hard. Yeah. It's one of the best things I've done. Physically, not ridiculously hard.
That's good.
Yeah, just more. What you like. Obviously, the higher you get up, the food drops off, quality and quantity of it.
Yeah.
And what they're making and things. But the way the guys do it over there are just incredible.
Yeah.
And, there's probably 6 or 7 Sherpas that come up with you. So you just sort of have to carry a day pack.
So basically you were just going for just a walk.
Just a stroll in the park. It's incredible, these people. And you're spending 6 or 7 days with these people, and, just you realise, it puts things into perspective. Because halfway up, they're like, how did you get over here? Obviously it's based in Tanzania. And we flew, and they're like, what's that like? Yeah. And you're like, wow. And your life is in these people's hands, and they don't know what a plane is. So it's pretty incredible, really. But summiting that was amazing. The fact that it was probably good that we did it in the wet season because the top was completely covered in snow.
Wow.
So getting up there and not many people there, and that was the hardest day. I think I recorded the steps or something. It was like 65,000 steps in that 24-hour period because you leave at midnight.
Uphill
summit it, straight uphill, like pretty rough terrain and slippery. Takes you sort of 5.5 hours to get up there. You get up there for sunrise. And then the idea is that you come back down and stay on the mountain. And I'd had enough. I was wet, tired and hungry. So I was like, let's just go straight down there. Like, it's not good for your altitude. I was like, I don't care. I need to get back to the hotel.
You have to adjust and go back down. Yeah. Oh my God.
So quite a severe headache on the way down. But we just got out of there and went to the hotel. And then we went to Cape Town after for a few days to decompress. It was beautiful.
Sure, that would have been fun. It's funny when you finish, I'm not sure, I think maybe you have a bit more of a sicker mind than me. I was sort of happy to finish up with all that training camp stuff, but it turns out that that's the stuff that you actually miss the most, challenging yourself and having someone force you to do it.
Yeah.
Is actually, you realise it's actually like a luxury to do that, because otherwise, you don't do it, you don't grow. Yeah. There's so many things. I'm trying to do one hard thing a year.
Yeah. I think, and it's just having the goal to do it.
Yeah.
And it's, having that, but it does take time. Like, you've done a marathon. Training for a marathon is...
With kids now would be impossible, I think so.
Yeah.
You did the New York, though. That's cooler than Melbourne.
Yeah.
Same distance,
I
but-
completed it.
At what time did you get?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, not okay.
No, I was being as competitive, and I was like, I'm a good runner. Being 6'4" and 95 kilos is probably not ideal for running conditions, but I'd train seriously hard. But Zoe, my partner, 2 of her brothers live in America, and we had a wedding 6 days after the New York Marathon. So we're like, brilliant, we'll go to America for 2 weeks before. That was the worst idea because I'd hardly trained. And then
You weren't going to train while you're there.
No, I trained a little bit or whatever, but her brother lives like 1.5K from Venice Beach. I'm like, this is, and I've got a couple of mates that live in LA, and it was Halloween. So so training sort of took a backseat for a little while. But yeah, I wanted to run a sub 3-hour marathon. That's what I was training for.
Wow.
And some of my training runs, I was, on track. The issue I've got with footy is when you train for footy, it's 100% all the time. Whereas tempo runs, I can't do them. Like
You can't run slow.
No, if I'm running around the city or running around Albert Park and someone overtakes me, I'm like, no,
You want to race
that
them.
guy.
Yeah. I know. It's
The amount of times I entered into a one-person race against everyone else around Albert Park in the tan was ridiculous.
Mate, I did the same thing. I did a fucking fun run on Sunday. What are those
What
runs
did you
called?
run
Park
Melbourne?
runs? No, park runs where you're
yeah.
running against like old ladies and old men. Like I was like, I'm just gonna go run like 5Ks, and all of a sudden this like older lady, mature lady, like ran past me, and I was like, not today. Then
Yeah.
you like take them over. Then the next person, you're like, no, I'll take them over.
Yeah.
You just can't stop.
No, it's shocking. And that's probably the thing about the marathon was like, how are you going to approach a race? And I was like, I don't know, I'll just run it. Like, And they're like, no, you need a plan.
It's a different thing, yeah.
It's a completely different thing. And I did the Melbourne half before and did it in like, 3 50-minute Ks. And I was like, I'm flying.
Wow. So what up? Did you just hit a wall?
Yeah. Hit a wall, and I just wasn't prepared, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think, and the New York Marathon's very different in terms of you get to the start line hours before because they close the bridges. So they close the first bridge, the Venanziano Bridge or whatever.
Wow.
So you're on Staten Island just sitting there for 3 hours before your wave goes. And then it's like, righto, you've got to go. And I had gels and stuff like that, but I just didn't. I obviously just didn't prepare well enough. And then the first 10K I ran in like sub 40 minutes, and I was like, and then I tore my calf, and then my knee blew up, and I was like, oh, fuck. Anyway, I opened the Uber app.
Did you actually? Did you have an Uber to finish?
Yeah, no, thinking I'll be able to get an Uber here in New York. Like, there's
In
no
the
way.
yeah.
In the marathon, like about 15K in, I'm like, I'm not going to make this back. Like, I'm fucked. Anyway, so I'm running along, I open the Uber app, and I'm like, what am I doing? And then, never actually booked it. And I wasn't even going to go through with it, I didn't think. But I've never experienced cramp like that. Like, my forearms were cramping, full body. And it was just horrendous. Like, running through, because you run through, obviously, the 5 boroughs. So running through, like, Chinatown, and they've just got, like, the little packets of salt. And I was like, just give me salt. And then I've obviously taken too much salt.
Oh, my God.
And then poor Zoe's there, heavily pregnant, at the finish line with no cell data, so couldn't figure out where I was. So she's asking someone next to her, can I search where he is? And she's like, what's happening?
Oh, my God. Mate, there's...
And I said to her, like, I will, I'll finish this in, like, 3:30, 100%.
5 hours later.
Nah, it wasn't that long. It was about, what did I do? I think it was like 4.5 hours or whatever. But
Not bad.
I couldn't run for the second half. And it was just...
No, well, mate, if you need some training, just let me know. I can help you out next
clearly.
time. Yeah,
How did you find yours?
Oh, it's a boring story, but it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, for sure. Like, I did it in... I just broke 4. I did it in 3 hours 50.
Oh, good on you, hero.
But it was, it was... Well, I wasn't trying to break 3 hours, but like that
Melbourne,
the Marrow in Melbourne where you finish up, you have to run up the hill at the tan. That's not funny what they do there. Literally, people are like running backwards up that hill.
Oh, after the half, I went and got a coffee there, like at Gilson or whatever, and seeing the people, I was like, oh.
It's so funny. Yeah. It's crazy what they do. But I'm keen to do another one day. I know I'm in a good place when I'm running. I just got to keep doing it. But not as big as yours, but like my calf just goes every time, so I've got to look after that. My body's usually all right, but obviously that day it wasn't. And it was hot in New York too. Can't imagine.
It was horrendous.
Mate, to a part of the show as well, catching up, as we've spoken about, catching up with mates. Dove Men+Care have been incredible with us, sharing the same vision. I know it's yours as well, of checking in with mates and appreciating people that help us out through the journey. Who would you say you'd give full credit to? And it doesn't have to be one person, it could be 2 people, 3 people that have really sort of been by your side maybe even innocuously helped you out when you didn't even know it. Could have just been a message that was seen as them as something that was small, but to you at that time it was huge.
Yeah.
Does anything sort of stand out to you?
I think the obvious one for me is Zoe, my partner, I suppose. I think, she came, we've got an interesting story. We knew each other years ago when we were sort of 15, 16 messaging on MSN.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Bit of
messaged...
webcam action or no?
No, from my point I would have enjoyed it. But I should go on the record and say this. I sort of was like, I like you, and she logged out of MSN when we were 15.
Offline. Yeah.
So I was like, brilliant. Anyway, years went by. We sort of all grew up in similar circles. I went to Xavier, she went to Genazzano, so my mum was happy she went to Gen, so bring home a Genazzano girl. But then we sort of rekindled, I suppose, years later, and got together. And we got together at a time, probably after COVID and things like that, and when I was going through that whole journey of figuring out what had happened and what had gone on and what direction I want to go in with my life and things like that. And she's just an incredible person, just to be able to sounding board, and just in terms of not putting up a facade or putting a mask on, I can be completely honest with her all the time, and she feels the same with me. I sort of go back to the point of her journey with losing her dad and things like that. She had struggled with that a lot and felt like that was around the Christmas time. So Christmas time for her was never any good. And then since we've been together, she's like, no, I enjoy it because I'm allowed to feel however I want, and it doesn't matter. So I think with her, and then seeing her go on the journey now of being a mother to Ivy, it's pretty incredible. She's the youngest of 6, Zoe, so she's been an auntie since she was 18. So that mother natural instinct is pretty incredible to see. And Ivy sort of talking now and saying mummy a lot. And Zoe actually said, you got to tell Dyl this. So the other day, because, you pop up everywhere, you're big name, social media and things like that.
Yeah, correct.
Anyway, a lot of the time, Ivy will point at different people and say, Dada. Anyway, a photo of you popped up. And she's like, Dada. And Zoe's like, no, that's not.
Zoe's like, yeah.
Anyway, I said, have you got anything to tell me before we come in here? But it was very, very funny. I'd say Zoe has, been a huge support of mine. And when I said I want to get back into full-time footy, she was like, yeah, go for it. And I don't think she knew what it was, because the part-time stuff I've done previously, she was like, so when will the Bulldogs start? And I was like, in November. She's like, but the season doesn't start till March. And there was like, do they train at night? I was like, no. Sort of, yeah.
Sort of.
Anyway, she's she's an incredible person. So yeah, I'd say her.
No, that's beautiful, mate. It's I can see that with you guys, and I know how important she is to you, obviously, by hearing that now. But I think when you pick a life partner and someone you want to spend the rest of your life with, it's so crazy how. I think everyone knows how important that decision is, but I don't think until you probably start having a family and you been with them for maybe a few years, you think, oh fuck, I really did get this right.
Yeah.
And even just, as I said, becoming dads on the same day.
Yeah.
Being able to see both, I suppose from our own separate experiences. Being able to see our partners grow into mums is pretty cool. And
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah. Even when Max says, that he's went through a week period where he really liked me, but besides that, it's just he just fucking loves it.
You play second fiddle the whole time.
It's so ridiculous. Good, though. Yeah. But it's great. You just, I don't know, you just love seeing how much they love each other. Yeah. It's awesome. I would like to be a part of it at some stage, but
they've got 9 months on us, though. That's what I always say. I say, well, you've spent 9 months longer with her, so it's not fair. You actually had a head start.
That's true. That's a good point.
Zoe's heavily pregnant with our second now. We're sort of 5 or 6 weeks away. And
I can't believe that.
Ivy, neither can I. And that's flown that time. But Ivy goes over to her all the time now, and he's like, up. And she's like, why don't you go to him and say up? I can't bend over and pick you up. So
that's when you're going to really probably come into full swing, when she's got the little one, and you'll probably take Ivy and your role. Yeah,
it'll be it's going to be a solid month of hopefully as the Bulldogs, VFL and AFL go deep into finals, and Zoe will be single parenting two kids. But it'll work out really well in terms of timing. Just getting a couple of months off at the end of the season and being able to spend that time with her. I think I was lucky. I sort of took probably 3 or 4 months off with when Ivy was born and spent a lot of time with her. And Zoe's got her own business, so just managing that stuff. And I think that really, entrenched our bond together, me and Ivy. So it's pretty special that time.
Oh, it's beautiful, mate.
Yeah.
Mate, congratulations on everything you've achieved. I'm not surprised at how well you're doing and what you're doing. And yeah, I know how much you're impacting not only your family, but the players you're working with, your friends, and everything else too. So you're an absolute star. It's an honour to know you, call you a mate. Can't wait to see what the next sort of 4 or 5 years holds for you in the coaching space, the family space, and just the personal development space. And I hope that we can catch up sooner than that for another chat. See where it's at.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me, mate.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the chat.
Love you.
You too, mate.
No, say it.
I love you.
Thank you.